Hello guys, today we are going to make this scene in Blender. So, to start with, we have an arm rig and a simple scene setup. First we are going to create the animation for our hands and egg. And for that we have to parent out with the hand. Then we will position our hand rig as close to the reference. Parent the egg to the hand bone. Now we can start doing our animation. Add keyframes on our hand rigs. And follow the reference for different poses and spacing of keyframes. If you press T on the timeline you can change the animation type. I am selecting the animation type to be constant for now. I am not a professional animator so I am just doing what I know in this. And now we are going to do it for the second arm as well. Now we can add keyframes to our eggs as well. I changed my animation type to Bezier. Now we need to adjust our animation. So I will grab the hand bone, and if you press Ctrl Tab on timeline, you will get the graph editor. So I will select the Z location curve, and make it the vector for the first to keyframe. And then adjust the other parts of animation as well. Now we will do some simulation for our egg. Add a sphere and make it small to fit inside our egg. And then we need a domain for our simulation. Then add another sphere for bowl collision. Add a solidify and subdivision modifier. Parent our small sphere to our egg. Go to the Physics tab and select Fluid, then Flow, and change Smoke to Liquid. Select our bowl, and add an effector collision to it. Now select our cube, and add domain properties to it. Select Liquid under Domain, and add the required frames. Change Type to All. In the Liquid section, enable Mesh. Change resolution to something higher but not too much. Click on Bake. We need to start our animation from 40. Make our sphere a bit smaller. Let's change our simulation type to inflow. Add keyframes to use flow checkmark to control when the flow will start and stop. It's too much, we need to adjust it. It seems like our bowl collision was a bit shorter. You can take your time to adjust it as much as you like. As you can see before frame 40, our domain appears to be a big box. To solve this, add a scale keyframe on frame 40. Then on frame 39 scale our domain to 0, then add a keyframe. Now we will start shading our hands. We have sunlight here to work with. Now a default shader. Add diffuse and shader to the RGB node and color ramp node. Change it to constant and drag the white slider. Select the colors from reference. Add a layer weight node and select this color ramp. And press Ctrl-Shift-D to duplicate it with connection. Now reset it with backspace. Now add a mix color node and change it to multiply and join the color ramps together. It's for highlights on our hands. Add another mix color node and change it to add color ramps to it. For a little detail, select your hand model and go to Edit Mode and select the edge loops of nails. Go to Vertex Paint and select the vertex mask. And then select the Set Vertex Colors option. Now it will automatically add color attributes to hands. Name it anything you want. Add an attribute node and type or copy the same name. Add a color ramp to make it sharper. Add a mix color node and multiply it. Our other hand went full black because there are no color attributes to it. Do the same method with it. We are going to use a layer weight method for our bowl shader. But first you have to set it to alpha blend and disable the showed back face. Change our color ramp to constant and drag the slider to get sharp rim effect. Duplicate the color ramp and reset it with backspace. Now try to make it look like this effect. Add a mix color node and change it to red. Add another color ramp, and drag the slider to make a sharp effect, and add another slider, and drag it to create a ring. Add a mix color node, and add them together. Add a mix shader node, and join our texture to factor, and add a transparent and emission shader to make a NPR glassy shader. These other shaders are really simple. And this board is just a stretched noise texture. For our fluid I added a bunch of smooth modifiers to it. And for our shader we will start with the same bowl shader that was just created. I am trying to create some highlights for our fluid. I am adding an empty object to get some easy gradient effect on our shader. Add a gradient texture and press Ctrl T, and then add a color ramp. Click on that pin icon so our shader won't disappear. Now select our empty and mess with it a little. Change our gradient type to spherical. I am just multiplying the layer weight effect with our gradient to remove it from the edges. Remove the transparency effect for now. To create some highlights, we just need to duplicate the yellow gradient effect and make it a little offset. For the bottom part of the fluid, we will use the same method. Now add a shader node and a transparency node. So after rendering and some Premiere Pro compositing, we get this scene.